I see the mayor. Mayor, it's good to be with you. And members of City Council, Sherry Dorsey Walker and Hanifa Shabazz. I see Calvin Christopher, the chair of the Human Relations Commission. And I see our brand new secretary of the Kids Department, Carla Benson Green. And when I asked Carla if she'd been to this church, she looked at me, she said, "This is my mother church." And we also have, and I left them for last on purpose, members of our General Assembly who are with us today. And I thank Senator Margaret Rose Henry and Representative Stephanie Bolden and Representative Charles Potter. The City of Wilmington is well served by them. And I will be talking in a few minutes about a particular project initiative that we have been working on, and I want to thank them for leading. You know, the noted abolitionist Lydia Maria Child famously said that law is not law if it violates the principles of eternal justice. Well, for more than 80 years after its founding and for all of the colonial era that preceded it, the governing documents and philosophies of this land officially condoned a practice that directly contradicted those principles. Again, law is not law if it violates the principles of eternal justice. Now, I am not going to attempt to tackle the complicated and likely impossible question of the range of actions that our country might take to annul the sins of our past or to address the extraordinary damage that they have done through our present. But I do know one thing that we can do. I know one thing that we must do. It's essential that we publicly and candidly and wholly recognize the everlasting damage of those sins. Damage that reverberates widely to this day in a country where more than 150 years after the abolishment of slavery and decades after the official end of the Jim Crow era, being black in Delaware and being black in America means your likelihood of success and prosperity is less than if you are white. The damage reverberates when we read that 1 out of every 6 black men who today should be between the ages of 25 and 54 have disappeared from daily life, either because of early deaths or jail sentences. It reverberates when we realize that the income gap between black and white households is roughly the same today as it was in 1970. It reverberates in the finding that whites born into good neighborhoods tend to remain in them, and blacks are likely to fall out of them. It reverberates in schools, where the achievement gap between white and black students persists, and in overcrowded prisons where the number of African American inmates tops 80% in some cities. Now, for generations, our country denied and actively contested a basic fact of humanity: that nothing about the color of one's skin affects that person's innate rights to freedom and dignity. And as we recognize those core values, we also admit that our history of discrimination and degradation and deprivation is a direct cause of many of the challenges that we face 150 years after the ratification of the 13th Amendment. So today, as we recognize this important anniversary, I am joining with Margaret Rose Henry, our state senator, and Stephanie Bolden, who has taken such a lead on this, from our House of Representatives, and Charles Potter from our House of Representatives, and other members of the House and Senate of goodwill in support of a joint resolution in which our state officially deplores and apologizes for the reprehensible actions of generations past. You know, this resolution will do more than write a footnote into history books that describes the atrocious conditions that some Delawareans afflicted upon people of African descent. It will mark an important moment in owning up to our responsibility to fix the long legacy of damage that continues to result in inequality and unfair obstacles for countless citizens because of their race. That doesn't mean we know or have the ability to implement every possible solution, but we will certainly make more progress if we understand and affirm the full extent of our problems. Because despite past severe injustices and despite many failed attempts to better serve disadvantaged communities, we can have faith in our state and our nation. We can have faith in Martin Luther King's timeless axiom that the arc of the moral universe is long, but where does it bend? Toward justice. It bends toward justice. Now, I have faith when I see the passionate efforts of people from all backgrounds and viewpoints who work to address the needs of our inner city students, and when once struggling schools go on to earn national honors. I have faith when I see parts of our prison populations decline, and when more people recognize that the appropriate method of correction for some individuals is not found in a jail cell. And I have faith when I see diverse groups in our state rally to acknowledge and to confront the continuing presence of discriminatory behavior. The great Maya Angelou eloquently said, "History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, it need not be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon the day breaking for you," is what she said. You know, Delawareans have a lot to be proud of in our history, but we know that it is not perfect. So let us affirm that we accept it all, that we face it with courage, and we always look forward to the opportunities of the day before us. And in doing so, we take another important step in our never-ending mission to fulfill the principles of eternal justice for all people. Thank you. I have here a statement in observance of Abolition Day. I will not read it. I will present it to Pastor Beeman, and I especially hope the young people who are sitting a few rows back, one of you young folks stand up for a second. I want you to see this. I want you to see this, and this is 150 years to the day that the 13th Amendment was passed. We have much...
Can we have the Bond granddaughter? Can you come? Isn't that the Bond granddaughter? Can you come? And the young man standing next to her, my godson, come.
And what I want you to know, and I'm at
these two.
Okay. Why don't I come down in a second?
Okay.
I'll come right down. But here's what I want you to know, especially you young people. This reflects the fact that we have made significant progress. But the truth is, and as I've just laid out in some detail, we have a lot more progress to make. And I would wish that all of that progress would be made by the time you are old enough to get out of school and to be raising kids of your own. But it is my guess that much of the work that will remain for some time. And I'm hoping that you and others of your age will assume the responsibility from all of us.